one of today is that Bruce Lee is entering Web3, starting with open edition NFT from People Pleaser. Okay, so the Bruce Lee estate will establish a Web3 presence for the late legendary martial artist and actor, thanks to a new partnership with Shibuya, an NFT-driven video platform. Well, I've talked to People Pleaser as part of the show before. I don't think we had her on an episode, but we released a panel I did with her at one point. Very talented artist and great thinker and personality. And Bruce Lee was such an inspiring character for me as well. I'm not like, I haven't watched a lot of Bruce Lee movies, but I'm very inspired by Bruce Lee the person and his sort of vision and his trajectory. But yeah, this is cool. It's cool to see when these estates make these decisions.
Absolutely. And I think all these memorabilia, especially for people who are not, with us, in person at least, is a good way to do open editions, right? Because there has been a lot of pressure. I don't work with artists anymore, but I do keep an eye on that scene too still. And I know that, some artists have been criticized for doing open editions, but I think for them at least, it's a good way to evolve, to survive. But I think it really fits the bill for memorabilias about people who are not with us right now.
I think it's it's a sign of the times too, that there's been a lot of conversation at Outer Edge and just generally about the buying NFTs like a cup of coffee. You enjoy that cup of coffee in the moment. Maybe you remember that coffee time to time. It doesn't have to be something that has this massive sort of deal friction of you doing the transaction, right? So these are 0.008 ETH, which right now converts to about $15 for someone that really loves Bruce Lee. It's a very palatable purchase as well. And so, it's cool to see People Pleaser sort of evolving what she's doing with Shibuya and this type of collaboration. I think this is, good indicators, good signals of what's possible here in terms of that intersection point of metaverse and entertainment and IP and fandom. So I'm a fan, and I may or may not have a Bruce Lee t-shirt in my closet.
Is there a slogan on the t-shirt? Does it say "Be like water, my friend"?
I don't think it has a slogan. I'm not. I have to look it up. But
do you have that t-shirt?
No, I don't. But I've seen it somewhere, I'm sure.
But he's a legend, and yes. It's a cool one. What else we got, Ethan?
All right, let's hit the next one. Next one is that Adidas is releasing Chapter 1 of its ALTS dynamic NFT collection. Adidas first released its Into the Metaverse collection in 2021, December, promising holders of the NFTs exclusive access to collaborative merchandise and virtual land experiences throughout 2022. Its first Web3 exploration, a collaboration with NFT influencer G Money, who we've had on the show, Punk's Comic and Bored Ape Yacht Club as well, allowed holders to burn their NFTs to receive a new ERC 1155 token from the next phase of the project and claim physical clothing items. Well, kudos to them for picking some incredible collaborators and also kind of leading the charge in this space. It has been interesting to see. I don't know when the exact moment that shoes became collectibles, right? I remember the buzz around it when maybe back in like the 90s or something, when it was a really big deal. I remember literally a magazine headline that said, "Your shoes are your life." And it was, people were getting murdered on the streets for their shoes, right? So I remember that that moment of like street culture where shoes became super valuable. But it's really grown. I don't know if there was much before that, like the 90s or something, where shoes were a collectible thing.
So I think our experience differ a bit. It's not the same because here where I am in Turkey, in the 90s, of course, shoes wasn't really that much of a thing. It is becoming now, especially now that the collecting shoes is becoming a even bigger thing in the US. Now we're getting drips of that. I've been collecting shoes for the past 5 years, let's say, ever since I became, able to afford some luxury shoes, and but I do remember how and when they pretty much became a collectible in the crypto space. And I remember being super excited when Adidas came to the space. I remember being super excited despite some minor controversy when Nike came into the space. Don't look at my wallet because I don't own anything from them because they would always been a bit too expensive for me. But yeah, this is something I'm keeping an eye on. I think it's very exciting, and I want to see where it goes.
And by the way, Girk, what's your like most prized sneakers in your own collection? I'm just curious.
Okay, so last time I was in LA, I bought some Air Jordan 3
Nice.
Chicago Fire Reds. And so the first time I saw these shoes were 3 years before. And I had to wait years and years until before they reappeared. So it was an exciting moment for me.
I had some Jordans in my head. I thought you might say that. He's one of my faves, even though I'm a Celtics fan.
You are? Oh.
Yeah. Very excited. I just coerced my mom to watching the playoff game. I'm going to be heading to Boston next. So on Tuesday night, I'm taking my mom to watch the Celtics at Boston Garden, which I've not been to Boston Garden or a Celtics game back home in over a decade. So it's going to be a treat.
Can I add something to this? I played basketball for a long time. I attended one NBA game, and this was like this is a crazy spectacle. It's incredible. Like how to do that show there.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I'll say this too. The podcast I mentioned earlier with Rick Rubin, Tetragrammaton. The first one of the first guests he interviews is Phil Jackson, the Chicago Bulls coach. And it's fascinating because he's asking questions like, what is a guard? Tell me what a guard. It's great to hear two people that are experts in their fields talk and be willing to be kind of like naive to what each other does, but very respectful.
Ethan, the next hot topic's pretty interesting. You want to just squeeze it in quickly?
Let's do it. All right. Companies behind Azuki NFTs and Line Friends characters join forces for Web3 expansion. Chiru Labs, the Web3 company behind NFT collections Azuki and Beans, and IPX, the parent company of the popular character collection Line Friends, said Wednesday they've begun working together. Two companies intend to collaborate on content, merchandise, retail distribution, real-life activations, and immersive metaverse experiences, initially focusing on the Beans NFT and Line Friends characters. Yeah, big players coming together to do some interesting stuff, and of course, a lot of diverse areas which all these things are getting executed.
Yeah, I think I love it. I think collabs are the name of the game, and finding like-minded folks in the space that you gel with and then sort of working on bigger partnerships makes a lot of sense to me. These are two powerhouses, and so when you think about it, there's inefficiencies in the IP game in terms of all these one-on-one conversations, when in reality, it might actually make more sense to approach a big IP partner with a combination. One insight, I've had from talking to brands recently is that, brands want to hang out with cool communities. It's not necessarily about that one-on-one collab. It could be, one-to-many. If they have a chance to work with new communities that they expose to their audience and those communities can sort of help each other out, I think this is a really interesting sort of signal of what might be to come here.
No, so I agree that collabs are the name of the game, especially so this was one of the difficulties we faced along the way. And this really pushed us to, for instance, simplify SnapMuse.io and make it an easy UX, is that we found ourselves trying to first sell the narrative of Web3, then sell SnapMuse.io. And I think that it's easier, or like Web3, it's easier to grow your community with people who are already in Web3. So I think that's where the collabs become very valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one more thing before we wrap the segment, Ethan, I'll just mention that we will be at Consensus as a media partner, and then VCon coming up. So maybe see some of our listeners there, and excited again to have Yatsu over at Consensus. I'm going to be checking out his talk. He'll be speaking about where the future of the metaverse and NFTs go from here. So maybe see you guys at Consensus.